mayor alive, and for once, we have it located right. Most of the time, I have someplace 4,000 miles away behind me, or at least 700 or 800 miles away. Tonight, you're looking right out my window. Not obviously at a shot that Ted took during the day, but that's what I look at. And we used to do the show out there. We're going to try to do a few toward the end of spring here. If we're, it's kind of dark. Well, today was a very rainy day in beautiful Palm Beach. You can't believe it. My mother used to say, when you have rainy days like this, God is crying. Did you ever think of that? I hope that's not the case. But okay, where are we on the war, Ted? This is like, we should like stay on 24 hours and give 10-minute updates. We'll get a few people to help us today. Now, let me see if I can review it for you. I went through it on the other show, and I don't want to go through it in great detail, but I will. This whole thing about Israel attacked, they didn't attack Lebanon. By the way, the Lebanese government is completely supportive of what they're doing. They're wiping out Hezbollah. Now, Israel had absolutely no reason to believe that Lebanon was covered in the ceasefire. The ceasefire involved Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the United States of America, and Israel. No one mentioned anybody else. There was no expectation that there was coverage. Israel did one attack. I don't know how many I count. I'm sure I didn't get all of them, but I tried to get all the attacks and many of these were done before Israel attacked Hezbollah. They attacked multiple drone attacks in Kuwait. So you get one or two explanations for that, right? They violated the agreement, or they didn't believe that Kuwait was covered by the ceasefire, in the same way that Israel didn't believe that Lebanon. But nobody reports it that way. Even Fox and Newsmax and even our conservative reporters get spun. This is all about Israel attacked Hezbollah. Israel says, the U.S. says, and even J.D. Vance, who some people, think leans over too far toward Iran, says there was no. But J.D. did say, you want to play that little piece? J.D. did say it's an understandable mistake that Iran made. It's not understandable. I'm going to tell you why after we listen to this. I'm sorry, JD, but this is not understandable. And when people think you bend over a little too much to interpret it Iran's way, I don't think that's it. It's that little isolationist streak that you have. That, gosh, if you want to be president, you're going to have to get rid of. I mean, you can't have an isolationist as a president. You got people around the world that want to destroy us. We're going to hide? But go ahead. Let's play this.
A lot of bad faith, propaganda going on. I think this comes from a legitimate misunderstanding. I think the Iranians thought that the ceasefire included Lebanon, and it just didn't. We never made that promise. We never indicated that was going to be the case. What we said is that the ceasefire would be focused on Iran, and the ceasefire would be focused on America's allies, both Israel and the Gulf Arab states. Now, that said, the Israelis, as I understand it, again, I'm supposed to get a fuller report when I get on the plane, have actually offered to be, frankly, to check themselves a little bit in Lebanon because they want to make sure that our negotiation is successful.
Well, JD, of course, he didn't have a lot of time to think about it, and I really admire JD very much, and I think he has done a great job as vice president, and I thought he did a great job as a candidate, and I think he's an extraordinarily bright man. So this is offered just to point out that sometimes they really outspin us and they spin us around. I want you to think about this. If Iran was legitimately confused about Lebanon being covered, right? Then why would they have attacked Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, Iraq, and in the Persian Gulf? Many of those attacks before they were reacting to Israel attacking Lebanon. What it demonstrates is they either violated the ceasefire agreement multiple times. Israel did once. They violated the ceasefire agreement multiple times, or they legitimately thought that nobody else was covered. They had multiple drone attacks, dozens on Kuwait, starting pretty shortly after the ceasefire agreement. They had a successful drone strike hitting an oil pipeline in Saudi Arabia. In Qatar, every missile was intercepted and knocked down. In Bahrain, they did the same thing, but they were attacked. And in Iraq, they hit a diplomatic support facility near the airport. And they conducted multiple attacks in the Persian Gulf. And they and when they originally defended it, they didn't know about Israel. Their original defense is a very specious one. These attacks came just hours after a U.S.-Iran ceasefire was announced. But Iran says the strikes were retaliation for prior attacks on its oil facilities. Well, doesn't the ceasefire? I mean, so we could have attacked them for prior attacks on our aircraft. That's what the ceasefire is about. I mean, they just lie their backside off, and nobody calls them on it. We don't even call them on it. And all the emphasis is on Israel and the United States. Same thing with the war crimes. They're trying to make up war crimes that Trump hasn't committed, as they believe talked about committing. Meanwhile, I can't count the number of war crimes that Iran has committed. Some of them so specific, they're actually defined right in the Geneva Convention. For example, every hit that they've done on desalination plants is an example given by the Geneva Convention of a war crime, because the water supply can't be said to be critical for the military and not totally critical for the civilian population, because most military facilities are going to be independent and have that supply already existing. For example, in Qatar, you really think we depend on Qatar for our energy and our water, and our military bases are self-sustaining if they're big ones like that? Now, I happen to know that about that base because I've been there. A number of times. So they're not when they try to hit a desalination plant in Qatar or an energy facility in Qatar, they're not doing anything to affect us. It affects only the civilian population of Qatar, and it's a damn war crime. And nobody calls them out on it. They've been doing it for 2 months. 1,000? And these phony Democrats who are obviously don't even care about arguing for the United States or defending the United States, don't point that out. That jackass, whose name I think I forget on purpose, from California, Ronan, what's his name? Farrell? No, the big mouth, who accuses Trump of all kinds of war crimes.
Oh, Ro O'Connor.
Yeah, what's his name? Ro O'Connor? No.
Ro O'Connor.
Yeah, he's not Irish, obviously. So I was really disappointed. Someone I really admire a lot yesterday, Shannon Breen, was really giving him a hard time and beating the hell out of him. But she missed one that was really critical. when he starts talking about war crimes, she doesn't bring up his total silence about the multiple war crimes committed by Iran that are exactly what he's describing Trump wants to do, except much worse. I do not understand why an American would be unfair to America. Or in her case, she's a very loyal and very, very patriotic American, and she's an extraordinarily smart lawyer. So there's something going on that blocks that. It's so effective that it blocks out even the most intelligent and discerning of our people with the right heart and the right convictions. And I mean, it's the same thing with Allah. They all do this Allah thing like he's some kind of a holy God. I mean, Allah was hanging around the Arabian Peninsula for 500-600 years before Muhammad took him up and made him some kind of a singular monotheistic God. He was his highest rank in the pagan religions. He sort of became the chief god, like Zeus was to the Greek gods. Except he wasn't as powerful as Zeus, and it was a little more like all the gods were pretty darn powerful, and he was just the most powerful one. Now, interesting, nobody points this out. This is fascinating. He was the god of the moon, and he was married to the god of the sun when Muhammad picked him up and used him because he thought it would be more, he probably thought, if he thought at all, that it would be easier to fool Arabian Bedouin illiterates by using the name of a god that they kind of knew and worshiped too. And so when he does this Allah Akbar stuff, they're talking about a god who had a great background as a pagan god with sacrifices and all kinds of crap. This isn't like the God of Abraham and Isaac. This isn't the God of the Old Testament or New Testament. He's not a continuation of them. None of them were moon gods. We refuse to confront the Quran. Get this book. You really want it? This one now they would say this, of course, is blasphemy. This is the critical Quran, because someone last night was asking me for a good book to learn all the things that I know, by Spencer. Spencer is probably, only by God's grace is the man alive. Spencer is probably one of 4 or 5 of the leading scholars on the Arabian religions, and this book has the entire Quran in it, but then it shows you the different translations, how the words change, the order changes, and the background of this. And basically, Spencer would tell you that the Quran is a textbook to conduct war and murder. Then you have this book on the Quran that you might also want to get. This is not, if anything, this is done by a Muslim who kind of leans their way a bit. But what he did do was he put it in the correct chronological order. Now, that's really important, much more important than you would think, because I think this is done on purpose because they're liars. So they were put in the order of the longest one first. And then they came up with a concept called aberration or something like that, which means this: because Muhammad contradicted himself often, like he said that Jews and Christians were good, but they didn't understand everything. And then he said, you shouldn't be friends with them, and you should kill them. And at first, just kill them, and then you could shake them down. You could, if they were willing to kiss your feet and become dhimmis and give you the money you wanted or half their business like the mafia did, then you could keep them alive. So the way the Quran is reorganized by them, that stuff comes first. And then later he talks about how nice the Christians and Jews were. So a lot of the Muslims who want to fool you, or even other Muslims, how many people go into that kind of detail? Say, you see, Muhammad straightened it out. Now, if you reorder it, Muhammad was saying that when he was a young man, thinking he could he could get all the Christians and Jews and his own tribe to crash. When he went to them and he said that Gabriel took him to heaven and he met all the prophets, they looked at him and said, "You're a crazy son of a bitch." And maybe that's why you fall down on the floor and in the middle of your pitch, you have a seizure. Now, people say that he had epilepsy, but we don't know that for sure. We don't know what those were. His opponents thought he was possessed by the devil. His supporters thought Gabriel would knock you down on the floor and have foam coming out of your mouth to hear the word of Allah, the moon god. So Trump took a real beating from all of the pure, holy people for using the F word on Easter.
Right.
Okay, Mr. President, I don't know. All these people who did it, though, Mr. President, they're kind of like perfect, like Marjorie Taylor Gonzo. I mean, she's really perfect.
Right.
Kind of think Marjorie, who I knew and was a friend, I think Marjorie, for a woman, had a pretty, I don't know. I don't think people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Well, I will tell you that I don't know what's going to happen now. As the last time I checked, and it may have changed, Iran was not allowing anybody to go through the Strait of Hormuz.
Updates on that, right?
They also attempted to do murder in about 6 or 7 different places today. Now, they didn't attack Israel, which kind of demonstrates what JD was saying, except for the fact that it wasn't a misunderstanding. That's understandable. It's a misunderstanding that is being created on purpose by a bunch of lying creeps. So let's see what happens now. I think the president put it off for 2 weeks for reasons that go deeper than, I think the only way he could do it, given the way he organized it, was to have them make a major concession, which they did. But I think there's another reason for it in terms of strategic advantage and what he's trying to accomplish. Because as we delay, which gets me frustrated, and I think the people of Iran, all of these delays have led to further and further degradation of the Islamic terrorists in Iran, and giving Israel a chance to wipe out their proxies. This also proves their concern about Hezbollah and Lebanon, proves what we've always said, that Hezbollah is a functional arm of the IRGC. Okay, so let's go to a happy subject, a glorious subject, a great subject about the revived United States of America, wrested from the hands of people who hate it, like the Obamas and the Bidens, hated enough in one case to give cash to our enemies, and in another case to spend an entire career taking massive bribes and selling out the country. It would be impossible not to credit President Trump for what happened in space. He brought it back when he became president in when he took over in 2017. He decided to continue the NASA program. Obama wanted to do away with it. I think Obama was hoping that China or one of the Islamic, like Iran, would end up on the moon first, so it could be run by what he really believes in, which is communism and Muslim extremism. I don't believe for a second that he's a Christian. Or if he is, he's a Christian that goes to a church that made what the minister that made what President Trump said on Easter sound, benign. So I think you may or may not know this, but this is definitely worth noting because these are beautiful people. I hope you picked that up in the interviews with them. These are really beautiful people. I remember people that I met and admired, and I used to tell my kids about them, and I said, I hope you grow up like that. I hope you grow up with those values and with that balance. And it's sort of like how the Catholic Church uses saints. That's the purpose of saints, to give you examples of how to lead a good life. So saints are really, which are attacked by Protestants a lot, but saints are really things that help to evangelize, to spread the religion, because they show you what can happen in the life of someone who submits in the right way to God. So they named 2 areas of the backside of the moon. Now, one was named for Carol Taylor Weissman, who became Carol Taylor Hansen, was married to Jeremy. Well, wait, I get this confused.
Carol Weissman was married to Reed.
Reed Weissman, who is the Canadian. Oh, he's the commander. Okay, but it was Jeremy Hansen. This is why I'm confused. It was Jeremy Hansen who told Houston in a shaking voice that Commander Reed Weissman was crying when he did this. That the mission had decided to name a bright spot on the moon. They want to call it Carol. And then they picked another spot and they named it Integrity. There, that's Commander Reed Weissman's. That's Carol, correct? Mm-hmm. So this was, she died in 2020. And she died on May 17, 2020, at the age of only 46, after a 5-year battle with cancer. I'm sure she's looking down on Reed and protecting him. God bless you, Carol. And they also, you could tell, are extraordinarily dedicated and good people. Just watching them interact with each other, these are the kind of people you wouldn't mind sitting around, I hesitate saying having a drink with, or in my case, having a cigar with,
Right. Oh, absolutely.
They're all very interesting and very nice, but they're brilliant to start with. And they got courage coming out of their entire body. If you admire courage, and I sure do, I'm in awe of them. And I also paid a great deal of attention to the article today, which I will not go into great detail on, but if you are interested, I will recommend it to you. The article, I think it's both in the Journal and in the and in the Post. The 2 papers that I said are about the most worthwhile that we have, even though they're fallible. About the cameras they used, and they used a Nikon camera. That was brought up as a test because it could become very, very valuable to the people who do the next mission, which is going to bring them within the orbit of the moon. So this was a lot of people said to me. I shouldn't say a lot. A few people said to me, why were they 4,000 to 6,000 miles away from the moon? Why didn't they get closer? The Apollo crews had gotten closer, although I mean, the reason they went further out into space is they went way beyond the moon. Now, they did that for a photographic reason. They did it so that they could get a complete picture of the backside of the moon. They also were the first ones to go there when the sun was shining on the backside of the moon. When the Apollo crews would go there, they were going there for the purpose, most often, of either scoping out or actually landing on the moon. So they wanted to come around to the front side. The Apollo crews 50 years ago wanted to come around to the front side of the moon where they were going to land and did land when the light was shining on it, when the sun was shining on it, right? So when they were coming around the back, necessarily it was mostly dark. So they never really got anything but sporadic pictures here and there of the backside of the moon. So we really didn't have the knowledge that we need to understand the entire planet. It's interesting that they said it's 3 to 4 times larger than Earth, which is, I think, you think of how big the Earth is from our perspective here. But then you realize when you start seeing their pictures how small it is. It's a basketball. And that's what the moon was to them from 4,000 to 6,000 miles away. But they got a total picture of it, which we never had before. And they got a picture of it in the light. And with the cameras they were using, which I'm very interested in, they got unbelievable pictures, Ted. Look at that. Look at that picture. That's from anywhere from 4,000 to 6,000 miles. That picture right there with the crater that you can see. You can see even the little things inside the crater. That's done with a camera. That's done with a camera, with a
Like our cameras?
well, it's not like our camera. I think it's probably our camera. Our cameras are wonderful. We have beautiful cameras. We have Lumix cameras. We have Sony cameras. We have Nikon cameras. We use a lot of different cameras. When I was a still photographer, which I did as a amateur, I always used Nikon. That was my favorite camera. For video, I believe the Lumix 5 is better for what we're doing here with video. If I were to use even a more expensive, that's a pretty expensive camera, but if I were to use an even more expensive camera, that's one of the best for still photography, you wouldn't be getting as good a picture as you're getting here. There are trade-offs. For the camera that we're using, that Lumix camera, do you want to show them one of it? It's actually been used to film movies. It's so good. But it looks like a regular DSLR camera. Now it happens to be mirrorless, which is a new thing in cameras, which makes it lighter. And you see it set up there for video. Now, if I were going to go take, as they say in New York, pictures, I would take out my old Nikon, or I'd probably prefer even the Sony, our little Sony, which is a little, but it does most of what that can do, except it's only this big. I have no idea what this Nikon. I have no idea what this Nikon that they used. I really want to see it now. It's the Nikon D5, which has been used only since 2017.
Yeah, we'll have to look it up.
The camera is able to shoot at an ISO. ISO is how much light is being let in. So you can basically take pictures in the dark. The light sensitivity is up to 3.2 million, which means that the dark doesn't mean anything to them. It also, it's a camera that's built to be resistant to the high levels of radiation, which can destroy the electronics and destroy the camera pretty fast. Then they also used the Z9. Artemis brought a total of 32 of these, because this one is expected to make the next flight, and if it fully tests out, and that's going to be the main camera that's going to go to the moon when they actually film on the moon. As long as it passes the test, they're going to put it through today, or not today, over the whole period of time. So they're coming back on Friday. They're coming back on Friday at 8:07 p.m. What does that tell you, Ted? They're going to come back right into our studio.
Thank
and
you
we'll
for,
get to interview them.
Thank you for
These great American
timing on that,
heroes. You think they'll give them a heroes parade like they gave for Shepard? And I gave John Glenn a parade on the anniversary.
The Canyon
When I
Heroes.
was mayor, I gave him a parade on the anniversary of his
They got to get a parade in New
because
York.
I love John Glenn, Democrat, nonetheless, and a conservative. My goodness, would John Glenn be out of step with the current? He was considered too conservative back then, and they didn't nominate him. What a great man! I only got to know him a bit when we did the parade and dinner for him, but we gave him that experience one more time before he died, and a lot of people showed up. People hadn't forgotten what he did and who he was. These people, but now I'm going to tell you something really of great concern. New York, that Muslim city, has decided to cancel the 250-year ceremony on July 3rd. For some time, they were planning a ball drop like they do on New Year's on New Year's Eve, right, at Times Square. In fact, the ball has already been built, it's been tested. Well, Mr. Communist, Muslim extremist sympathizer who sympathizes with the Muslim murderers, Mondani, has decided to cancel it. They're going to have it, but it can be private for security reasons. If New York cannot secure an event like that, what kind of an admission is it that New York is not safe? Now, I faced this myself as a mayor, but I was a person who had significant amount of experience in law enforcement and was actually had worked for a living, actually used to study and read, would take advice from people that were wiser than I was. But it was a very tough decision. In 2000, there were threats by bin Laden's people to attack us on the New Year's Eve New Millennium celebration. And I pretty much had a split staff, including police department. Some saying, yeah. What an opportunity for these guys to attack us. And along with Howard Safer, who was my great police commissioner at the time, a former drug enforcement agent, a former deputy chief of the Marshal Service, the man who invented the witness protection program for not just mafia, but anyone who testified for the government that was in danger. One of the men who helped to catch Eichmann, and a Marine. In other words, a great, patriotic, very smart American with great expertise in security. He and I labored over it, and he went back and forth, and we decided to do it. And he said, well, and we decided about 3 months before. And we spent a month preparing. Before that took place, people went down below. There's a whole city below the city. There are cities below the city. Checked it all out, inspected every building. did background checks, people in the building. In those days, the FBI was for real like it is now. It had Louis Freeh as the person in charge of it, my former colleague and assisting U.S. attorney who tried the Pizza Connection case against the mafia when I was U.S. attorney, and a very close friend of mine. Louis gave us a tremendous amount of help from the FBI. We had foreign help, and we went ahead with it. And here's the deciding factor. If I had to stop that celebration, wouldn't I be saying to people, don't come to New York? We can't do it. I mean, if I had to cancel probably the iconic celebration that makes New York famous in every living room around the world. And instead, the message in every living room around the world is New York Police Department can't secure it. Then what's going to happen to the record tourism that we were creating, and I inherited from Dinkins, a city that was sinking about where it is now. And we went from 5 million people coming to Broadway to 19 million. My people relied on that. This isn't a question of fame, or it's a question of this is how people earn their bread and butter. And I said, well, then we just have to make ourselves capable of securing this, because in making ourselves capable of securing this, we make ourselves capable of securing against a lot of other things, which we did. But you got to be right 100% of the time, not 99.9. And they finally got us, didn't they? The followers of the moon god, Allah, got us. In the name of Allah, they killed us. Please remember that. Don't be afraid to confront that. I am not saying that all Muslims are bad people. Just the opposite. I'm going to say the stupid thing that people say. I have Muslim friends. I have Muslim scholars who I've spent a great deal of time with. And the vast majority of Muslims are peaceful people. But the group that isn't is significant. It's not just a splinter group. It's in the millions and millions and millions. And it's a nation state called Iran. And their purpose is to take over the world. I would say to people long before any of this happened, when I would lecture on it, I would say, you find it hard to believe that. So you don't really accept it. And then you find all of these reasons to be euphemistic about it. I can't be. I just lost too many people and I saw it happen. And I don't want it to happen again. So I have to be here to warn you that this is a significant number of people who are organized around a literal reading of the Quran. And the people who are correct, that their mission is to kill you, the people who say that are correct about what Muhammad taught them to do and what Muhammad did himself. He was a mass murderer. The people who reject that ignore it. And that's the majority, for sure, the big majority. Here's their problem. They have an extraordinarily massive case of defensiveness. So you rarely see them condemning unbelievably inhumane acts on the part of those who read, I wouldn't say read Muhammad and Allah literally, who read it based on the plain meaning of what he said and what he did. And when they start saying things like he was the perfect man, how could the perfect man have killed thousands and thousands of people? How could the perfect man have been a pedophile? 19 wives and a pedophile. I mean, the 19 wives weren't enough. He had to be a pedophile. This is the perfect man. You got to know there's something wrong with that. Even one could logically question whether it's a religion, and therefore entitled to the privileges and protections that a religion gets. Well, today, or yesterday, right? The Gilgo Beach murderer, Rex Howerman, pled guilty to, I think it was 8, right? 8 murders, right? And it was, when you listen to the victims, families, some of them being interviewed, it was significant for them. So he escapes. I don't even think there is a death penalty in New York, and he's under state law, not federal law. So there was no issue of the death penalty for him. And I guess it's 8 murders. Now, there are people who think there are more. I don't know why. Well, I don't know why he wouldn't fess up to the ones that, as long as you're going to. And do we have any video of that, Ted? Because he seemed remarkably calm. The people that he admitted to murdering, and let's say a little prayer for them, are Karen Vergata, Maureen Brandon Barnes, Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, Amber Lynn Costello, Sandra Costia, Jessica Taylor, and Valerie Mack. God bless them. I'm sure they've been taken up into heaven. He dumped many of the remains right near Gilgo Beach, which is why he's called a Gilgo Beach murderer. And over a period of time, the remains would get discovered, and that's him right there. What a horrible looking thing. 6'5". Should have caught him 10 years before they did. Very interesting question as to whether that wasn't done purposefully. Impossible. But Ted and I personally investigated this. We went out to Massapequa Park.
Yeah, we should have some.
For 8 to 10 years, they knew that the killer lived in Massapequa Park.
You've gone to trial, and you're found guilty of that charge?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you're waiving a number of very important rights?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, now these rights include your right to a trial by jury or by the court, your right to have the prosecution produce evidence and witnesses to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, your right to cross-examine those witnesses, and your right to testify on your own behalf or to remain silent, your right to call witnesses or submit evidence on your behalf. Do you understand those rights as I just explained?
Yes.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty, you're giving up those rights?
Yes, I do.
Do you understand that by pleading guilty to a charge?
And this is our headline from our show. This was 3 years ago.
Oh, we were at that house. Remember, Ted?
That's our picture.
Oh, that's the picture we took.
Yeah,
You
that's our.
Because you got out of the car and got closer, remember?
That was America's Mayor Live, episode 191.
Yeah.
We investigated it. We did a couple episodes on it.
Remember when we got attacked by the flies or the mosquitoes at the beach?
Oh yeah,
Remember?
wow. We got to.
I think it was right before you took that picture because we had come back. We had
Right.
come back from the beach. His home is separated from the place where he buried the people by a body of water. It's only really the place where it's only about 3 miles away, but it takes about 12 miles to get there.
That was us covering it. New York Post caught us when we were
Yeah,
covering
the
it.
New York Post caught us in the car.
3 years ago. But justice.
I'm going to tell you what frustrated the hell out of me about this as a former prosecutor, investigator, whatever. For 7 or 8 or 9 years, they had a physical description of him. They knew he lived in Massapequa Park. They knew he took the Long Island Railroad. It would occur to a neophyte investigator. And they knew he was a very big man. So why don't you stake out the Long Island Railroad station in Massapequa Park, which is elevated, by the way, and look for big guys. This guy would have stood out immediately. Ba-boom. You'd have seen this big fat pig coming home. Maybe you'd have to go through 4 or 5 suspects. Maybe there'd be 3 or 4 guys that met the description. at most. Massapequa Park is very small, right? When we got there, we were driving in, and Ted said, let's put it on the map and let's figure out where it is. I said, Ted, let's just drive around. Believe me, it'll take about 2 minutes and we'll see where the cars are. And it took about a minute, right?
Right.
I mean, when you investigate serial murders or crimes similar to that, sometimes you go through thousands of suspects. There couldn't have been more than 10. And the minute you saw his shit house, you would have known this was the house. The house looked like beautiful houses, beautifully clean, beautiful lawns. All of a sudden, one stands out as weeds instead of lawn. Like you couldn't drive around and say, this guy's weird. Now, weird doesn't always mean he's the killer, but it's a pretty good, start. Well, in any event, here are the young ladies. Let's look at them. They deserve a little of our attention, Ted. Here they are, right here. These are the 8 that he confessed to. Oh, don't you want to put this up from here?
Oh, you have it on.
I do. I have it. So there you see Karen and Maureen and Melissa. Look how lovely they are. Look at how happy Megan is. Amber Lynn Costello. Sandra Castillo, right there. That's Sandra Castillo. Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack. Now, there are another 6, 7 bodies that were discovered, including several that were discovered about 15, 20 miles north of this, where we also went and investigated, that appear to be very similar in terms of the way their bodies were dismembered and the way they were raped. And their age, these were, as you can see, these were all young ladies. These are all somewhere between, I think the youngest is probably about 18 or 19, and the oldest is about 25 or 26. They were all in that age range. You would describe all of them as pretty. They're pretty girls. And I'd say, and then there are other places he put remains, but all of them had some remains at Gilgo Beach. So Ted, there was a similar case was it in Texas where the guy killed the 6, 7-year-old? Was that in Texas, Ted?
Yes.
And the question I'm going to raise is, shouldn't these people, and that was a child rape case, which I saw someone either on Fox or Newsmax today said that it's almost immoral. There's an interesting switch of the argument not to use capital punishment in cases like that, because the dignity of life and the innocence of a child deserves the ultimate penalty. So one person, I won't say who it is because I like this person, reporter. He said rather mindlessly, really, oh, but many people think life imprisonment is worse than execution. I want you to consider the following. Why do people fight execution for 15 or 20 years? I mean, all the do-gooders pay for it, but expending millions of dollars to stay alive. If the death penalty is better, easier on them than life in prison. And with the left-wing jackasses we have in public office, there's always the hope that you're going to get freed. Some have been. How about Cuomo? Change in the parole laws in New York in 2019 has led to letting out 47, 48 cop killers who were sentenced to life, and the argument was this is harder than being executed. You go tell those people on death row that have been fighting tooth and nail to stay alive theoretically with no hope of getting out of jail. Now, there is occasionally, I mean, every rule has an exception. There is occasionally people who'd rather die. That's true. Psychologically, they'd rather die. But they're the minority, by far the minority. Also, they say, well, death penalty is not a deterrent. You know, when I was broken to that, when I was Associate Attorney General, and the Marshal Service was under my jurisdiction, and right around Christmas time, a marshal with 4 children was killed by a lifer. He had twice been convicted of murder and twice been spared the death penalty. You know why he murdered the marshal? He was bored. He wanted to have a trial. So we didn't give him a trial. We just kept him there for the rest of his life. We couldn't execute him because it was, at that point, it was unconstitutional. It's not now. And that I always went back and forth on the death penalty. That case changed it for good. And the Nazi cases that I did, because those were the only cases that I did under federal law at the time that entailed the death penalty. And they both, well, one of them died before he was executed, the other one was executed. And I felt that was, without any doubt, not a justified and required penalty that reaffirmed the importance of human life. So I know there are people that disagree with that, and I respect them, because I've been back and forth on this as a Christian, as a Catholic, and just as a human being. But I'm convinced it's a necessary remedy in the criminal justice system. It should be used sparingly. And the most important thing about it is, if I relieved people of the death penalty and gave them life in prison, that would be because the proof of their guilt wasn't 110%, not just beyond a reasonable doubt. The one thing you can't be is wrong about it. And there are times that we have been in our system. So you gotta put it aside for horrendous murders that shock the conscience with an unusually heavy amount of proof. In this case, the proof is there, even without his confession. Only question is he leaving out some? Back in the day, 2 years ago, when we were investigating, we were kind of experts on all of them, but some of it has slipped. You know, I could have told you exactly what the things that were missing in certain cases were. All I can tell you now that there were things missing in certain cases. These 8, however, there's no jury in the world that wouldn't have convicted him. He saves the state a lot of money. He saves the family a lot of grief. Going through a trial would have been terrible for them. And you could tell with their interviews, maybe we'll get a few tomorrow night. There are a couple that really show you the relief on the face of the mother or the sister that he got it over with and that he did it. Have we taken a break?
We got to pay the bills.
Yeah, I know. Rudy.
We're running right through the whole hour.
Rudy, only communists are allowed to do that.
Well, we'll be right back.
We'll be back. Please stay. We'll be right back. We got a couple of last minute things. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans. No Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal, 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. So I'm going to go through a couple of things now quickly that I think you need to know. So when the ball drop on July 3rd was canceled, or the public part of it was canceled, somehow they're going to do it on television. I mean, New York City eventually will just be on television. The reason for it is they don't have enough cops. Well, they don't have enough cops to do that. They don't have enough cops, right? They've also canceled events that's surrounding FIFA. So those things will be sent out to New Jersey, and New Jersey will make the money on it.
Can't imagine that happening under Mayor Giuliani.
And
New Jersey.
The NYPD's manpower shortage is forcing the city to ban large public events, including birthday parties, from city parks and also events at city parks during the FIFA World Cup this summer. Jessica Tisch, who's the police commissioner, got Mandami to sign the ban largely because her department is 6,000 cops short of peak staffing, which is also short of peak staffing. Jessica, maybe you should call me sometime. You probably get fired if you did. After all, I was the mayor in the history of New York City who reduced crime more quickly and more than anyone anywhere. And I think I know a little about policing. If you got the 6,000, you'd still be about 4,000 short of what you should be, which is 41,000.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Jessica has talked him into canceling the events because they'd be stretched too thin. If they did these events for the tournament and the 250th anniversary. And Zandami will not hire more cops. Meanwhile, attrition is just going on left and right, meaning if she's 6,000 short now, she's going to be 7,000 short by the time we get there. And NYPD funding is flat. If the city isn't safe enough to have these events, aren't they telling the world we're not safe? I mean, we're not Sheboygan, you know, and maybe we should be. We'd be better off. We economically rely on large numbers of people coming into the city. I mean, a lot of the way in which we feed our families are tourism. If we're telling people, gee, we can't have big crowds here because we're not comfortable, we're securing it, then we are betraying the city, aren't we? And betraying the people of the city.
Got to be tough for you to
The military budget is something to keep track of, and we will. It should get passed. The president is asking for I don't know what the percentage increase is, but essentially it's a $1.5 trillion defense budget, which, by the way, would get us up to what we're asking the European countries to do. In fact, a little short of it. It'd be about 4.5% of our gross national product, because that's grown a lot under Trump. Even with all the other things that have happened, it's grown, whereas a country like China that has had to admit that they can't meet the expectations and haven't over the last 4 years is really probably flat or declining. So the question is, do we spend the money on dependency programs, or do we spend the money on defending ourselves and our children? Well, the dependency programs are notoriously fraudulent. I will tell you, if you cut 50% from them and held people accountable and did simple things like audits, which are never done, and did away with non-competitive bidding contracts, you'd have more than enough money to have a $2 trillion military budget and a lot to spare. Right now, the Pentagon is requesting $11.36 billion for the Air Force procurement program in 2027. That's an increase from $3.7 billion. You know why, right? We got to catch up, and we got to catch up fast. And we've used a lot of missiles. We've given a lot to Ukraine. We've given a lot to Israel. And now we're using them ourselves. Space Force, we get a 77% increase. And they have been invaluable in some of the miracles that we perform. The Navy, which has been horribly treated by the Democrats, as if we don't need one, wants $65 billion for building ships, which would more than double what they have. Now, why is that? Because China right now has something like a 200 times greater capacity to build ships than we do. And they have a bigger Navy. They don't have a better Navy yet, but they're getting there. Everything in here is absolutely necessary to protect you and your children. In all of the concern that the president, in threatening Iran, was threatening war crimes, not committing them, threatening them. What the hell was the human chain that Iran was putting up? It's a specific war crime defined in the Geneva Convention that apparently only applies to us and not to terrorists. Do you have any videos of all these people that went on the bridges? I mean, Israel and the United States blew out 12 bridges the other day. And we warned them that we would. Humane countries take the civilians away from there. Animals like this put the civilian and children there. Do you realize why they shouldn't have nuclear weapons? I mean, do you get it? That this is critical? And Amnesty International said it confirmed. Amnesty International is no friend of Trump and is half wacko anyway, and left-wing oriented. Amnesty International said it confirmed photos showing children wielding weapons, such as AK pattern assault rifles, and standing alongside IRGC military personnel right next to them. So if you kill the IRGC member, you'd kill the kid. And the IRGC had itself surrounded by kids during rallies that could be picked up from the air. That is, all of that are war crimes. Ignored, not noted when they talk about Bibi Netanyahu is indicted for war crimes in Gaza. Nobody with Hamas is indicted for sticking all the kids right in the middle of an IRGC headquarters, or building it right below a hospital. What I just mentioned to you are defined war crimes. So how phony is this? And why do they like terrorists so much? What the hell's wrong with them? I think we didn't mention on this show, but Marjorie Taylor Gonzo district has been retained by Republicans. Clay Fulop beat Army Brigadier General Sean Harris 54-46, which well, he was leading by that. I think eventually he won by 12 points. Now people say, oh, but she won by 28 and Trump won by 34, and look at this drop. However, she was extraordinarily popular in that district. That's going to reduce the margin tremendously. He was a superb, great military record and a superb candidate, but so was Brigadier General Sean Harris. He was
not your typical Democrat.
He was about as perfect a Democrat candidate as you could get. A great war record, a very, very high-ranking military officer, a very smart man. I thought I was listening to a Republican when I was listening to him,
Right?
particularly on the war.
Rural Georgia. Yeah.
Of course, we're talking about Georgia. So he put up, good, really solid candidates can just change numbers around tremendously. I think when I ran for mayor in '89, I think the predecessor who ran as a Republican might have gotten like 16 or 17%. I got 48% when I lost. And I got 49% when I won. And then I won in a landslide after that. But what I'm telling you is, and I hate to say, I was a very good candidate. That made up, that got me right at the doorstep in a city that, I was the fourth Republican elected in the whole entire 20th century. And those 4 Republicans became a Democrat. So I was only one of 3 legitimate Republicans. I do think I don't know if this is a column or an editorial in the Post, but basically they're saying that the military budget is if you want to prevent future wars, pass the budget. Nothing like deterrence, nothing like the Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump. Be so strong that your adversaries are quaking in their boots. And I really do truly believe that. I think that is absolutely true. Well, we covered this. What we didn't cover is Miranda Devine, along with Michael Goodwin, the 2 greatest columnists in America, came here last week and did a interview of me for her very, very successful podcast for the New York Post. And I was included in all the great people that she did, starting with President Donald J. Trump. And I recommend it to you because she did a very good job of questioning me. And she and 3 or 4 of her colleagues are the reason why that we were able to publish the Hunter Biden computer hard drive, which definitively proves that Biden was a racketeer, that he was a corrupt individual for 35 years, that he took bribes in every office that he was ever in, that he sold America out in Iraq, that he sold America out in China, that his bribery amounted to treason. And it was not universal among the News Corporation people. They wouldn't publish it in the Wall Street Journal, and that and my advocacy of the corruption in the 2020 election is the reason why I'm banned from Fox, which is their sister communications vehicle. But she had the guts to go up against them. And she did a great job. And so did her colleagues. I'll get all of their names. They all deserve credit. These people had courage you can't imagine.
Let's play one clip from the Pod Force One episode featuring Mayor
Giuliani.
It took me the longest time to come to the conclusion. I know this is a pretty stark conclusion, but it took me a long time to come to the conclusion that there's something fundamentally different about the Democrat Party now. Maybe not seen since they were the party of slavery. There's evil at the core of the party. And then, so you have the evil that emanates. And then you have the thing that we always remember about the Holocaust as an example, good people not paying attention and just going along. So you have a party of people that have evil intentions for this country. Mandami, for sure. AOC. So many of them.
Obama?
Absolutely, although he hides it more. It took.
That was good. That was great.
So I got to show you this. This is a rendition of the changes that President Donald J. Trump is going to make in the White House. I want you to notice. Can you put that on? Because I really have to take him through this. This is really important. It's not in there. But we have to.
Okay.
So there it is. I want you to notice the beautiful additions that'll be made here. The one that I like the best is next to the brand new ballroom, right? Right in the back of it, there's going to be a very large prison for journalists. I think it actually is a little too small. Don't you think, Ted? Should be a little bigger. We have more to put in there. Then there's the maze for dumb kids. The maze, not much of a maze. It's just a little fork in the road that comes back to the same places. It should have said maze for low IQ kids, because he loves that low IQ thing, right? That's his new one. You know what I really miss? Huge. He hasn't said huge in years. Then standing over it all will be the big, beautiful Trump bust. And there'll be the laser turret. One column for each country conquered. The Imperial Guard. The Diet Coke fountain. The Diet Coke fountain. And then the octagon for extreme boxing. Come on, that's really funny, Ted.
I agree. This one.
You know what's also funny? New York City put out a report on racial equity yesterday by his friend Mayor Mandupi. They actually say that a lot of it is based on the Black Lives Matter movement, which is a communist movement. Its 10 principles all come from Karl Marx, including doing away with the family. And and this is like a slap in the face to the current law. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon, who may be the Attorney General, has put them under investigation for violating the civil rights law. All you got to do is look at the recent decisions of the Supreme Court, and you can see that this is a complete violation. I mean, there used to be the notion that you couldn't discriminate against white people or elderly white people, or that's until the Supreme Court changed it with all the Asians and white people that were being kept out of Harvard based on race. The law says you cannot discriminate based on race. It doesn't say, well, that only applies if you're discriminating based on the color of someone's skin. If you're discriminating based on the person's nationality, like you're discriminating against Asians, that's a violation of the law. Asians, by the way, aren't included in the special category here. It's just Black and Hispanics. That would automatically get it declared unconstitutional. Then they did a report on poverty. Do you know that 62% of New Yorkers meet the test of not being able to afford living in New York? And why do they make it so high? So they could access even more handouts from you. Take it away from the federal government, which means all of you that are paying to allow New York City to be corrupt. For family, and basically that number would equate to a family about an income about $160,000. Below that, you're in poverty. That's 62% of the city, which means the city's entitled to a lot of money from the federal government to take care of that. Once that need is established, City Hall gets a free pass to push more spending, more mandates, more programs, more rules, ultimately more control and more non-bid contracts, half of which go to the politicians. So remember the guys who went to right near Gracie Mansion and they made it like it was an attack on Mondani, and we never really knew what their motive was? Well, there's a recording of what their motive was. First of all, they were ISIS-trained people. They were doing this for the same reason that the 19 people flew the planes into the buildings. They were doing it in the name of Allah and to spread the religion of the Quran. They discussed this in the car, and they were there, and their objective was to blow up. And now the Post just puts it in here as if it's a fact. White supremacist Jake Lang and killing up to 60 victims. This was they call it an anti-Muslim protest outside Gracie Mansion. It was an anti-Mondani protest for all of the grossly illegal things he was doing, which includes not just his being a Muslim, his being a communist. I don't think the Post even believes this. They just write it. Amir Balat and Ibrahim Qayyumi were indicted Tuesday for hurling 2 homemade incendiary devices in an ISIS-inspired March 7 attack during dueling protests outside Mayor Mondani's official residence. So this was not intended to attack Mayor Mondani. It was intended to support him. This is the side he's on, the Muslim terrorists. They were caught on tape casually chatting about how they plan to target Lang, who organized the hateful rally. There was nothing hateful about this rally. Lang doesn't have free speech, just the Muslim terrorists do. This is one of the things that shows how warped we are and don't know it. We got to do more of an analysis of that, because my guess is, I don't know these reporters, I know the newspaper. They don't even know they're doing this. I mean, they're making conclusions like it's not conclusive that he's a white supremacist. It's like they continually say that when President Trump falsely claims that the election of 2020 was rigged. I don't know how much proof you have to have about the cheating in Georgia and the cheating in Pennsylvania and the cheating in Wisconsin, cheating in Arizona. I mean, there's enough to prove it. There's certainly enough to justify his complaints about it. They're not making it up. Has never been making it up. They're making it up. And then they just write it like it's a conclusion, or like it has been determined that Jake Lang was a white supremacist and that his rally was a hateful rally. Not the people supporting the Hamas group that went in and killed 1,000 innocent Jewish people, including raping children and killing children in front of their parents and killing parents in front of their children and taking hostages, including Americans. It's okay to demonstrate for them, but if you're lying and you're demonstrating against them, it's hateful. Oh, and you can be killed. It's okay. Understandable. And this is the article that Miranda wrote about our podcast, Rudy case blow to Joe. You're damn right it was. I was the one who first revealed the criminality, lifetime criminality of Joe Biden. Not only did I reveal it, but before there was a hard drive, I proved it. You can read my book. I could have convicted him long before the hard drive of violating the racketeering statute. By the time we got the hard drive, I could have convicted him of that plus treason. Well, the Bagram Air Base, 400 miles from China, has been abandoned by Biden for no reason at all, except maybe there are 31 million reasons. You want me to believe that that wasn't part of the bribe from China, giving up the airbase 400 miles from China? That airbase, by the way, was only 400 miles from Iran. It'd be pretty useful right now, wouldn't it? Someday, God forbid, if we have a war with China, we should posthumously sentence Biden to death as a traitor. Well, tomorrow night I'll show you these here. I didn't set them up right, but if you want to look at them, they're really funny.
Oh, yeah.
Kristi Noem asks husband if there's anything he needs to get off his chest. It would be a big weight off your shoulders, Noem was heard telling her husband, Byron. Unload a burden you've been secretly carrying around. Anything? But he's the one who had the breasts, the breast things. And then they have a picture here of Trump sneaks onto Supreme Court bench cleverly disguised as Justice Sotomayor. No one was the wiser as Trump settled into Sotomayor's seat, offering his adjacent justices a hearty, hola, como estes? There he is. Okay, so let's end on a humorous note. I don't know why we'd be humorous with all this war going on, but who knows what's going to happen tomorrow?
Right. Every day.
We'll see the continuing ceasefire, and Iran will attack 5 or 6 more Arab countries. And I wish Israel doesn't stop knocking off the Hezbollah. It's not included, and there's no reason not to offend terrorists. And I'm sorry, Mr. President, I love you, and I am in awe of what you've achieved. And I don't think you really mean it. This government they have there now is all a bunch of terrorists. Just, it's like maybe the gene pool has gotten a little lower like the mafia, but they're killers and murderers. And yesterday, first day of the ceasefire, or today, between yesterday and today, they killed or tried to kill just about as many people as they were killing before. Right. I can't help it if they don't know how to shoot, or the Arab countries know how to intercept, 90% of their missiles. Well, pray for the people of Iran. They deserve to be delivered from this horrible 47-year regime. And then before that, the Pahlavi family, that wasn't even their name, and who stole everything that wasn't locked down and murdered a lot of them and tortured a lot of them and sold the country out to Great Britain. They deserve a decent government because they're decent people and they're good people and they would be great allies. And we shouldn't shy away from regime change. There are times in which it needs to be done, and only we can do it as the greatest military and moral power on earth. Pray for the people of Israel. Pray for the people of Ukraine, who we're not thinking about, but while they're not getting attention, they're making some real strides here. They're pushing very slowly but they're pushing Russia back, pushing them back, exposing a lot of weaknesses in what is really a paper tiger, Russia. Pray for the people of America and our soldiers in particular, and pray for our president to give him the strength and the wisdom that only you can provide. the true God, not a moon god, but the creator of the universe. And your son, who gave up his life to deliver us from sin and to show us what lies in store for us if we lead decent lives, eternal life, and believe in him. And the Holy Spirit, which is in us, all one God. And pray to the same God, the God of Abraham, and the God of Jacob, and the God of Isaac, and the God of the Jewish people. They're at the core of our civilization. We wouldn't have a civilization without them, or without the Greek philosophers, and the Roman lawgivers, and the great monks who kept us all alive. You think they got a literature like us? You think they have pre-Socratic philosophers? Yeah, right. They're philosophizing on how to kill you. That's what all the hadiths do. The world needs us. That isn't arrogant. That's an obligation that has cost us a lot. But it's worth it, because we're being guided by the one true God. So let's pray to him. Tomorrow night, come on back. Go over and see Dr. Maria now. And that's on Lindell TV. We'll be on Lindell TV at 7 tomorrow. We'll be here on X at 7 and then at 8 for America's Mayor Live. And Ted and I will be looking forward to talking to you tomorrow night. And also, not sure what we're going to be reporting. God bless America.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk,